What an amazing weekend. Got a haircut. There's a new camera. It's all blown out white, guys. I have to get to the news. I can't fix everything. I just go, you know what? You got to go. You got to cover this. Here it goes. Trump brought peace to the Middle East. He has changed the world. We're going to explain in this video, people are going to explain it for me, that it's his personality. It's his coarse personality that got it done. Most of these people are Democrats and leftists even saying it. So welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I hope you'll celebrate with me. Thank God for peace in the Middle East. The hostages either are all home or are a couple are on their way, but I got a couple of moments of those too. We're going to start with this one. Ooh, I can barely even get through this, guys. It breaks me up so much. The beloved Miss Tenaple and I were just praising God today for what happened. This is a father on the right there. He's going to come meet his son. Watch this.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. לשמחה, חיים שלי, האור שלי, הלב שלי, הלב שלי, הלב שלי. די, זה מאחור, אין כבר. נשמות שלי.
Okay, let that sink in for a second. You know, our media called Trump Hitler. The left called Trump Hitler. Does it look like, are these the fruits of Hitler? Fascinating. I celebrate this. I just think this is so wonderful. You know, as a dad, he got his son back after 700 days of captivity. So this is a celebration of goodness, even if it's only 20 people that came home. But that war ending could be many, many more people could find hope, happiness, and peace for the first time in a long time. Here's former Secretary of State Antony Blinken. I'm going to get you guys angry. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you there, okay? But this is Antony Blinken trying to take credit because this is his failed policy, right, that caused this. He says it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan the Biden administration developed after months of discussion with Arab partners. I just can't read further. This is so typically Biden. Biden is such a small, monstrous man. In fact, in the whole world, the people that are having the hardest time giving Trump credit are Democrats, some of them even Jews. It's disgusting. They're really showing their true colors of their own delusion. Here's Trump and part of his, he gave his speech. I like this one because he gives credit to Rubio. I like when Trump is selfless. He's obviously staying very close to his speeches here, but listen to what he says about Marco Rubio here.
And I have a prediction that Marco will go down, I mean this, as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the United States. I believe that. I believe it.
Mike Huckabee on the left there, he's wild.
And he and I, we really fought it out. You remember, he was tough. He was nasty. Who the hell thought this was going to happen, Marco, right?
Who the hell
now I'm saying he's going to go down as the greatest. He will. He was always smart and sharp, and people respect him.
Trump is just happy here, okay? This is a huge victory lap. It's not just for Trump. Marco Rubio was in his administration, and Huckabee, and Hegseth, and being a close ally to Israel. It's a huge, overwhelming vote of confidence for the Trump administration. And it is Trump's approach, his personality type, that pulled the whole thing off. We're going to get into that a little bit here.
The American people, though, also don't want to see pastors being pepper sprayed in their faces while they're standing outside praying. That is a very bad image for someone who declares himself a peacemaker.
Okay. That's his claim against Trump, that pastors are getting pepper sprayed. There was some pastor or some priest against ICE, and so he got pepper. So this guy's ready to just everything Trump did in Israel. This guy said he's no longer the president of peace. This is Democrats right here. Now we're going to hear from someone on ours.
But we're talking right now again on getting these hostages out of Gaza, which was something that I look back and I just think you have a genocidal group, which is Hamas, who is exploiting the situation and maximizing suffering in Gaza. How do you even negotiate with them? It took President Trump and his unconventional approach to getting the Arab states really to pressure Hamas. And until that happened, we couldn't get here. So his relationship with Qatar, his relationship with the Egyptians, and his close relationship with Bibi, it is incredible. It's monumental. We should stop as a country and take the moment to recognize that President Trump actually achieved what nobody else could do.
It is staggering, and it is his personality. The thing that you hate about Trump, his roughness, very similar to Patton. It was his roughness that was one of the major causes. And that's something very hard for people who hate Trump to grasp. The thing they've been told that was the only thing wrong with him ends up being the only thing right about what got everything done. His not caring what people think, his being rude, his lack of convention, his lack of manners, his lack of respect for tradition and the way things have been done saved human lives this weekend. Now, I'm one where it's actually hard to even imagine that Trump could pull off. I had very little hope for Israel and for peace. It's made us all jaded and skeptical, and Trump brought hope. Here's Jennings on the little yellow band that he wore, the little ribbon for the hostages.
Scott, I'm going to start with you. You've been wearing that pin for 2 years and 4 days.
Yeah, it's a great moment. It's the most historic moment for the Trump presidency. I was in Israel this summer and met with some of the hostage families and the mother of one, Alon Ohel. And, you know, when you meet with these people, you realize just how broken their lives have been and how they've been running around the world trying to maintain visibility for the hostages.
But one of the visibility thing they did, man, I haven't heard anyone bring this up, but I remember this well. You'll see many of the families when they get their hostage kid back, they're wearing T-shirts of the kid for visibility. Remember when they took all of the hostage pictures and posted them on poles on the streets of New York and at our universities, and Democrats and hardened leftists went and tore them down. That's so hateful and so evil. And now the hostages are coming home. And Democrats went so far as to even try and tear down the visibility that there were hostages. That is what we're up against. That's what I'm calling about. This is a culture war. The Democrats have to lose, and Trump and MAGA have to win. Why? Because it's not just the Republican Party winning. It's not just Trump owning the libs, getting another win, getting a trophy, a Nobel Peace Prize. It's the world is at stake. Peace is at stake. Hostage lives, innocent people's lives are at stake.
And they're going to finally get their family back. I worry about the hostages. I worry about what condition they're going to be in. I think in the case of Alon, I think there's a belief that maybe he's blind in one eye and he's been injured. But I don't know what's going to happen after this. You know, internal politics in Israel, maintaining the peace and finding a way to de-radicalize a lot of radical people in the Gaza. But it's going to be a great, great moment for the world when these hostages finally come out. And honestly, if not but for Donald Trump, I don't think it would be happening. And I'm very proud of our president because it shows what an engaged and pragmatic leader of the United States can do on the world stage.
He's almost in tears. It's amazing what Trump did. It's hitting Scott Jennings. I just want to compare also to show you how evil Hamas is. You know, Hamas is returning hostages to Israel, and these people are mentally broken, mentally abused, some of them losing body parts. Some were just killed. You know, they bring back bodies. And then when Israel releases some of the terrorists from Hamas that actually killed some of the innocent victims, they're going to release them from prison as part of the deal, part of the peace deal. These prisoners will be well-fed, not broken, not psychologically abused. It's a world of difference. This is not a moral equivalence thing. Democrats, by the way, are moral idiots, so they made moral equivalence between Hamas and Israel. It is morally evil to find moral equivalence where there is none. Here's Trump. Still, this is so funny, you know, because I find humor in this. It's disgusting, but it's humorous. This is MSNBC. Cannot quite figure out what Trump is.
On Donald Trump, what makes him so different? I've been trying to figure this out myself, and I wonder.
Yeah, it's been 8 years. They're still trying to figure it out. How can so much good come from Hitler?
If it's just this, if it's the uneasiness of knowing that he might just walk away, and with it the alliance that you might have believed was strong or immovable, that Donald Trump has that quality of unpredictability.
I think that's the first Democrat I've ever heard on MSNBC actually go into Trump and think a complimentary thought. She said a quality. He has a quality in Trump. Her little mind is going, now that I see this fruit, I'm going to reverse engineer and go back and see what his motives were. Somewhere there's this quality. Is it because he'll walk away from the table? Yes, that's one of the qualities. They're starting to see him now and look for qualities instead of just demonize everything he says as a cartoon so they get more power. Here's Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. This is a great one too.
What does this moment mean to you?
It's the moment of my life, a blessing in my life. And I couldn't be more thrilled to work for the greatest president out there, Donald J. Trump.
Greatest president out there. We're going to hear a whole lot of that. These are goosebump moments. This is from Trump's speech. Watch this.
So now we're going to forge a future that is worthy of our heritage. We're going to build a legacy that all the people of this region can be proud of. New bonds of friendship, cooperation, and commerce will join Tel Aviv to Dubai, Haifa to Beirut, Jerusalem to Damascus, and from Israel to Egypt, from Saudi Arabia to Qatar.
He's naming all of the areas. He's a peacemaker for the entire region. He sees it as a place to develop property and land and bring prosperity. That's how he sees the world.
We are going to have hope, harmony, opportunity, and happiness here in the spiritual and geographic center of the entire world. That's what you are. Israel, America, and all of the nations of the Middle East will soon be safer, stronger, greater, and more prosperous than ever before. And I want to thank you all once again for this exceptional honor. This has been truly an honor. It's seldom that a president is invited to do this. And I love Israel. I'm with you all the way. You will be bigger, better, stronger, and more loving than ever before. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the Middle East.
God bless the Middle East. That is shocking. I read Isaiah, where the first prophecy comes that Abraham's seed of peace and faith will even go to non-Israel. Those who are not of Israel will become my own, God says. He's talking to countries outside of Israel, that there's some kind of a big peace plan coming. And Trump, Israel's greatest ally. Meanwhile, Semites, there's a little bit of flack given to Tucker, who, had a wrong take on Israel. Candace Owens definitely on the outs. There's some anti-Semites on the right. They're just, if people can't see the difference between Israel and Hamas, there's a problem. But Trump is inviting the Arabs, saying, come in, let's do business, let's have peace. And I think a lot of them want to do that. Now, there was a protester at this speech, and Israel walked him out, and they break out and start saying, Trump, Trump, Trump.
חבר הכנסת כסיף, להוציא את חבר הכנסת כסיף מהאולם.
They're going to pull him out in this moment. Radical. I don't know what country he's from. I don't care. They ushered him out. There he goes. Yeah. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Sorry for that, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Please.
Sorry for that, Mr. President. Please continue. I found this one funny too. This is Greta Thunberg going, we need to stop the war in Gaza. And then Trump says, just did. And she goes, how dare you? So Greta, remember, she was the big environmentalist. Environmentalism was the biggest problem on the earth. And then suddenly she puts on the scarf and starts talking about Gaza and saying, she went from environmentalist, because this is the left, This is my observation. And you'll see Palestinian flags and Mexican flags and Antifa at the same parade, the trans rainbow flag at the same parade, and the environmentalists, Greta Thunberg, joining them. They're all just these Marxist protest groups, all angry. They just hate America and they hate Trump. On this one, the sound was so bad, I couldn't do the post. I couldn't play the video. But it's one of the families, one of the hostages come out and says, I got my life back thanks to you. One of the hostages got to meet Trump and in front of everyone, in front of Netanyahu there, said, I got my life back thanks to you. And now I'm going to talk about the backlash. Here's Piers Morgan. This is great on Bernie Sanders. Good morning, Senator Sanders, he says. You've posted 16 Trump bashing sentiments in the last week. I can't find a single post from you about the most consequential peace plan for the Middle East in decades or President Trump's leading role in it. Is there any reason? Look at the...
No, Speaker Johnson, the No Kings rally on October 18th is not a hate America rally. In fact,
no Kings rally, which has been tied to radical funding and violence.
It's a love America.
Yeah, you're a BSer. It's a Love America rally. That's propaganda. Look, I found another atheist. Here's Sam Harris. He's one of my favorite, awful on the right. He is the most bitter atheist, called one of the four horsemen. So he was there with Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris. He has to reluctantly, look at his face, how creased and angry
Trump
he is.
Got a deal done. And that's something I don't believe you believe would have happened under a President Harris.
It pains me somewhat to admit this, but yes, he's certainly been good for the Middle East and for Israel in a way that I don't think there was any reason to expect Harris to be good. And Biden certainly wasn't good, apart from first.
I find it hard to say. Why is it hard to say? Why is it hard to believe? Why is it hard? Because your worldview is wrong. That's when your philosophy does not line up with reality. That's why it's hard. Here's Trump on Biden trying to take credit for what he did.
And they were in places that you don't want to know about. Deep.
Some of the top Biden administration folks who were there, like Antony Blinken, seem to want some credit for the peace deal. Blinken says it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan that the Biden administration developed. What do you think about that?
Everybody knows that's a joke. Look, they did such a bad job. This should have never happened. This wouldn't have even happened. That was weak leadership, terrible. And the same thing with Russia, Ukraine. Yeah.
It never would have happened. Elections have consequences, people, even wars. This is why a particular reason why I'm bummed Trump lost in 2020, whether if it was stolen or he legit lost it. The fallout was this war in Ukraine and Israel, Hamas taking hostages going on forever. Biden could not fix it. So your pastors that will not tell your congregation, vote for Trump. Your pastors will not do anything about the war in Ukraine, which is on Trump's list next, and bringing 20 hostages home. I think the church should want to be identified with that. The church should want to be identified with Trump's plan. Here's more on his plan. Trump just showed the world that Hamas is easier to negotiate with than Democrats. Let that sink in. Now, this one is funny. Remember when I did the video going after Trump's theology where he goes, I have to be good enough for God. Here he admits a very important step. Listen to the difference here.
You talked a couple weeks ago, you were doing an interview and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound.
I think that's good. I know it sounds like I'm criticizing him. He said, I don't think anything will get me into heaven. That's a profound step for the president to say. And I agree with him. There is nothing, no amount of good works. He can end all the wars in the world. That's not what gets you into heaven. He can bring all those 300,000 missing children back. That is not what gets you into heaven. Let that sink in, guys, because this is the first step every man must come to. There's nothing I can do, I can earn, I can't be good enough to counter what I've done wrong. Trump cannot do enough good works to get into heaven. The next logical step is what? That's what I'm excited about. The next logical step is for Trump to realize my good works cannot get me into heaven. My good works. And that's why it demands a savior, a perfect God, pay, because you can't. Otherwise, your works would mean you don't need a cross. You don't need Jesus. It was stupid for God to send his son. In fact, it was immoral for God to send his son to die on a cross and resurrect. If there was another way to do it, if you could do enough good works, then it was wrong of God to send Jesus. That's what Trump, I think the next logical step is. Yes, buddy, you and I can't do it, no matter how, and he is one of the best men there is. And he's realizing something. There's nothing I can do to get it. Nothing's going to get me in. That's why you have to have Jesus. I hope that brings that point home, guys. I love talking religion. I love when Trump continues to develop his religious philosophy. And that is an amazing thing for a man to admit. It could be everything. That is a confession. Jesus went to the tax collector. Tax collector said, Lord, forgive me. I'm a sinner. He beat his chest. And the Pharisee said, I'm glad I'm not like that guy. That's Trump beating his chest like the tax collector. I'm a sinner. And that's the one that Jesus was turned on by, not the Pharisee, the tax collector, admitting he's a sinner. That's the one that moved Jesus. So let's pray for the Holy Spirit in Trump's life. Here's Benny Johnson. I love this one too. So this is the announcement, okay? Former President Joe Biden undergoing radiation therapy as cancer care enters a new phase. So Joe Biden is getting rid of radiation. Here's Benny Johnson. I just want to show you a difference between the right and the left. Remember the left when they found out Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck and they were cheering him on? Here's Benny Johnson finds out Joe Biden, our enemy, has cancer and is going, and Benny Johnson says, I said a prayer for Joe Biden at church today. I pray that whatever days God has for Joe are painless and full. There are things far bigger than politics. I think that's a bit of the Charlie Kirk and the Erica Kirk effect on all of us, and I champion on that. That is a very wise thing to say for Benny Johnson. Here's Piers Morgan again, the woke left. He's the new Hitler. Here's the front page of the Jerusalem Post. God bless the peacemaker. It's got a huge picture of President Trump. And then here's another meme of Democrats. I don't want peace. I want to hate Trump. We're going to end on this is a huge tearjerker. This is a Democrat in New York just crying over Trump. I was moved by it. I'm going to play it for you.
Democrat, good morning. What'd you think of the speech?
Yes, hi. That was I'm going to get choked up. A momentous speech. And I'm a conservative Democrat living here in New York where this example of bringing peace to everyone should be thought of in New York City, where out of ignorance, the people are about to elect a guy who's pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas, who's friends with his people in Uganda, a country that lawfully executes people for being gay.
That's Mom Donnie.
And this should be a wake-up call to everyone, that people can live together. I go back, I worked as a young man for Humphrey and for McGovern, and became more conservative as I've gotten older. But this was like the best of, he does it in his own style. We actually live pretty close to where he grew up. And, New Yorkers like Bernie Sanders are sort of different. They're funny, they're abrasive sometimes, but this should be a lesson to all of us that we can all live together. I think the future, if the Gazans really accept the goodness and the money that's going to come from the Arab community and from the world community, it can be a different world. And I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it's a great moment in history for everyone. And we have to reject hate. We have to reject Antifa. We have to reject Mandami. And we have to come together as human beings. I'm an old guy. Life is short. And we should live it with love. All right, thank you.
That's Philip in New York.
Wow, Philip.